Hello and welcome to Endurance Minded. It's the podcast that aims to redefine what it means to reach our full potential by exploring how movement and mindset impacts our lives and how we can all work to show up as the best versions of ourselves. I'm your host, Taylor Thomas, founder and coach at TEC, and I want to kick this episode off with an all call for coaches, health and fitness professionals, dietitians, nutritionists. If you are in the health and wellness space and you are frustrated with the growth of your business, if you are struggling to make the money that you want to make, if you're struggling to understand how to attract and retain your ideal client, if you struggle to charge what you feel like you're worth, then I am speaking to you. TEC, the company that I founded, is a business accelerator for people like yourself, individuals in the health and wellness space that want to grow profitable businesses but are struggling to do so. We have spent the last decade putting together all of the resources that you need to address the specific pain points that individuals in this space face when they are working to grow and scale their businesses. We address that in three primary ways. We look at revenue. How do you make money? This is a primary pain point that individuals in this space, in the coaching industry, face, and we address that very tactically and help you put systems in place and develop skills to make the revenue that you want. We also address client acquisition and retention. How do you attract the right client, specifically a client that is willing to pay you what you're worth, recognizes your value and what you bring to their lives, and how do you retain that client? How do you stop the incessant, consistent, constant running around and chasing new clients? This is one of the biggest pain points in our industry, is that we're always trying to fill our rosters. If we can keep the clients we have, we solve that problem. So we teach you how to do that so that you can stop that rat race. We also address support. So the coaching industry is very siloed. We're all trying to keep secrets from each other. For some reason, there is no secret sauce. What is required is support. We want collaboration. We want to work with entrepreneurs and business owners that are excited and fired up to trade ideas, to share information so that we can elevate the industry as a whole. So TEC focuses primarily on providing that network so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to solve these problems for yourself. We put you in relationship with driven, fired up entrepreneurs in this space that you can share ideas with, that you can get mentorship from, and so you can accelerate the growth of your business versus trying to figure it out all on your own. So if any of these three primary pain points sound like things that you have dealt with or are currently dealing with, then I want you to reach out. You can do that at thomasendurancecoaching.com. Click Become a Coach in the top header to get started. You can also reach out to us at enduranceminded.com. We'll put the information in the show notes of this episode. We are looking to work with 100 coaches this year in 2024 to help them grow and accelerate their coaching businesses. We only work with the best of the best. We only work with people that are ready to make a change, that are ready to change the narrative in the coaching industry. And so if this sounds like you, if you feel like you're the right fit, then we want to work with you. We want you to be one of those 100 in 2024. Again, that's thomasendurancecoaching.com. Click the link at the top of the header or check for the link in the show notes. And I look forward to helping you build and scale a wildly profitable coaching business. Today's episode is going to be a quick one. I want to be in and out, and I want to give you some really tactical advice and some tactical guidance around rest. Rest is something that I talk to a lot of people about. It is something that I find increasingly we have very divergent thoughts and feelings about, depending on where you're looking at it from and how you're approaching it. And it's also something that I've struggled with a lot in terms of my mindset around rest, how much I do or don't deserve it, the role that it plays in my life. And as we ramp up to summer in the Northern Hemisphere, it is something that seems to be top of mind and a part of a lot of conversations that I'm having with people in terms of or in regards to um, that there's not enough time to rest, or that they would like to rest but they can't, or that if we push past this and we just keep pushing, that there will be rest on the other side of this imaginary line that we create for ourselves. So I want to unpack what that looks like. Again, I want to provide some tactical guidance on how rest can integrate into your life, the importance of it. I'll reflect on a bit of my experience with it, and in hopes of helping you reframe your mindset around rest and the role that it plays in your life and the value that it can provide in helping you actually accomplish what you want to accomplish versus keeping your nose to the grindstone and continuing to push forward in the absence of rest. So, first, when does it make sense to rest? And this is the balance, because it is hard to do hard things. And as I've said previously on this show many, many times, I don't believe that doing the same thing can equal different results, meaning that in order to do extraordinary things, we have to put in extraordinary effort. Inherently, in the modern day, that means that we are probably going to have to burn the candle at both ends. We're going to have to make some sacrifices, and we're going to have to be tired sometimes. If we're talking about it from through the lens of athletics and fitness and training, where does the time come from? We're going to have to make some sacrifices. We get up early in the morning, we stay up late, we push things to either end of our day so we can work out during lunch. Whatever that is for you, that time has to come from somewhere. Specifically with training, we are purposefully creating fatigue so that the body can adapt. So we are literally actively trying to create a fatigue state. We're trying to make ourselves tired and then provide the appropriate rest and recovery, and then adapt to that, rinse and repeat. In the business space, if we want to do something big, we're going to have to be tired, right? We're going to have to push the boundaries of what we think is possible. If we want to just stay in, especially when we're building, if you're in the entrepreneurial space, if you're working to grow your career, if you are someone who has a lot of responsibility in that space, it is unlikely that you're able to maintain a perfectly quote unquote normal schedule. There's going to be times when you're going to have to push hard, and that is going to create inherent levels of fatigue. So, with that being said, when does it make sense to rest? If we know that there are going to be times when, yes, I'm going to be tired. Yes, I wish that I had more opportunity to rest. Yes, I wish that I didn't have to get up earlier, that I could sleep in late. But I'm willing to sacrifice because I believe in what I'm doing, and I recognize that to do something extraordinary requires extraordinary effort and input. Then, recognizing that, what role does rest play? When does it make sense to rest? And what I will tell you is that it makes sense to rest when we reach a point of diminishing returns. And I think this is a really critical inflection point that is really hard to recognize in the moment, because we think that if we do more, we'll get more. If I train more, I'll get more fit. If I do more at work, if I work longer hours, if I put in more time, I can build it faster, I can do it faster. And the fact of the matter is that there's a very real point of diminishing returns. There's a point at which we will get hurt. We will be overtrained. We will be burnt out. Our body will actually not continue to adapt to that training load. There is a point at which we will cease to have good ideas, to be able to think critically about our work, to be able to collaborate in a meaningful way, to be our best selves and show up in a way with those around us that we are proud of. And so there's a point of diminishing returns, and that is the point when it makes sense to rest. When we do a workout and it feels exhausting and it doesn't feel like it adds back to our day. It doesn't give us energy. It makes us more tired. We are progressively more sore and fatigued day after day. These are the points, those are the inflection periods when we're recognizing diminishing returns, that the body actually isn't adapting to that positive stress, but it sees it as negative, and it's pulling you down, and it's causing an inverse response. When we feel like if we sit at our desk a little bit longer, maybe we'll solve the problem. If I can just sit here, if I can just work for 20 hours a day, then I bet I'll move it faster. I'll move it forward. There's a point where that doesn't happen. There's a point where we don't have good thoughts, where we don't have productive thoughts, where we're actually not our highest and best. That's the inflection point that I want you to recognize in your own life. When that happens, and I know that I have been here countless times. Some of the times I've realized it, some of the times I haven't, which is why I'm sharing this with you now. When I've been in that place, the best decision that I could have made or did make was to quit, was to rest. Now, this can be small bouts of rest. It can be to get outside, to take a walk, to sit outside in the sunshine, get some fresh air, do a short breathing exercise. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have to take a nap or go to sleep or shut it down entirely. That's going to look and feel different depending on where you're at and your level of fatigue and burnout. Sometimes that means we need to go to bed early. We need a full night's sleep. We need to take a day off from that particular opportunity and thing that's going on in our life. And so, whatever that is for you, recognize that inflection point and then understand what it looks like to solve that. Again, what type of rest is most important? Is it mental rest? Is it physical rest? Is it actual sleep? That can look and feel different based on where you're coming from. Next is, why is rest as important? Why is it important to rest in the first place? So we just talked about recognizing those inflection points in our lives, specifically through two different lenses, kind of the work space and the training and exercise space. I highlight those because I think those are the most real, obvious opportunities to recognize that inflection point in our lives. There are certainly other places when it makes sense to rest, or other places in our life that generate that type of fatigue. There's emotional fatigue, there's mental fatigue, there's the weight that we carry from other responsibilities in our lives. But I stuck to those two because I think that's oftentimes the most tangible opportunity to recognize that inflection point of when it's time to rest for us. So once we recognize that, then why is it important to rest to begin with? This really ties into that point of diminishing returns, and that the reason that it is important to rest is because when we push past that point, we actually don't get anything from it, right? We're actually going backward. And in a very real sense, from a physiological perspective, our bodies will shut down. They will stop producing the mechanisms necessary to repair musculature, to work at a cellular level, to operate and to grow and to build meaningful fitness. And so when we continue to push, we don't provide rest and recovery periods, when we're not listening to our body, when we think that one more workout is going to be what creates the fitness and creates the breakthrough that we're after, we're actually doing ourselves a disservice if we're in a time period and at that inflection point when we need to rest. It's the same thing on the work side. When we're at that point of diminishing returns, we're actually just moving backward. We're not having our best thoughts. We're not thinking critically. We're not bringing our best to the table. And so it actually is a disservice to what we're trying to produce to begin with. Over and above that, I think that the reason that it is important to rest is because what I would like to do, my goal is to be my best version of myself in whatever environment I am in. And when I am in a place where I require rest and I've actually pushed past that point of no return, and I'm trying to just keep my nose to the grindstone and trying to continue to push and push for the sake of doing it, I'm not doing my best work. I'm not my best self. It actually isn't why I showed up to that thing to begin with. It doesn't allow me to interact with my team in a way that's meaningful. It doesn't allow me to step into a leadership role in a way that I'm proud of. It doesn't allow me to step into a leadership role in my own life that I'm proud of, because I'm tired, I'm fatigued, I'm grumpy, I'm frustrated at my environment. I don't feel like I'm making any progress. There's a lot of emotional attachment that gets wrapped up in that, and that gets projected onto the people around us. And that's a frustrating place to be. That's not who I want to be in the world. That's not who I want to be for myself. And it's certainly not who I want to be for the people around me. And so even over and above the physiological and the mental emotional components of like literally backsliding, I think it's about how we show up. And I think it's about how we're able to portray ourselves in the world. And is that in alignment with who we really want to be? Is that in alignment with our values? And I would argue, if you're on the other side of that inflection point, that it is impossible to be the person that you want to be when you require rest. Because again, you know that you're not doing what you want to do. You know that you're not moving your body forward. You're not moving your mind forward, your business forward. You're not supporting your team. You're not supporting your family in the way that you really want to, because you can't. You have to rest. Your mind and body can't show up in the same way. It is physically and mentally and emotionally impossible to be that same person when you require rest versus when you are in a rested state. So that recharge is critical. That's why it's important, is because in order to do your best work in any area of your life, rest is important. You have to recharge, and you have to make sure that you can come back prepared to do the work that you need and want to do. Third is, how do we shift our mindset around rest? I've touched on this in the last 2 points, but I want to drill in. I want to bring it home with this. Rest is not weakness. And I think there's no more plain way to say it, and no more plain and clear way to capture the sentiment that so many of us, and I'll put myself in there because it's something that I've struggled with as well. There's no more clear way to capture the sentiment than to recognize that we believe that rest is weakness. If I can do more, I will be more. And one of the things that a mantra that I love, that my business partner, Christine Hernandez, says, is that you are a person being, not a person doing. And what that captures is that our output is not linked to who we are. Our ability to be productive forever and always is mutually exclusive from who we are and what makes us valuable in the world. Take this from somebody who at one point in time was inexorably linked to their work ethic. I thought that that was all that I had to bring to the world. The fact that I could outwork anybody, anytime, all the time, and that if I can just continue to work, I'll always be able to accomplish my goals. And frustratingly enough, that served me for a little while. It works until it doesn't. So let me just tell you this so that you can get ahead of it, right? I'm sharing this with you because if there's a way to sidestep this, you don't have to wait until you fall off the cliff, meaning that you overtrain, you burn out, you get injured, and you have to shut it all down. That will happen, and that's happened to me before, and so I can speak to this from a very real place. So shift your mindset around rest. Rest does not equal weakness. Rest is an inherent critical component of showing up and doing your best. The only way that you build fitness is to rest. You don't build fitness during bouts of training stress, meaning you don't actually build fitness during your workouts. You build fitness during recovery. So if your goal is to be stronger and fitter, then the only way, physiologically, scientifically, to make that happen is to rest. That's when your body adapts to the training load and training stress and overreaches and creates fitness. It creates adaptation that makes your body stronger and fitter than it was, based on the training stress. So if you are not resting, if you're trying to do more and more, and you think that just stacking those sessions, and not leaving time for adequate rest is going to get you where you want to go, you are categorically wrong, and it will let you down. So rest is the only time that fitness is built. In the workspace, that's when, again, we're able to show up as our best. It is not heroic, and thankfully, we are finally starting to shift away from hustle culture, where the merit of an individual in the workspace is that they work the most. That is bullshit. That doesn't mean that it's good work. That doesn't mean that it's in alignment with that person's values or the company's values, or that it builds a cohesive team, or that anyone is paying attention to the things that matter most in a business. We are just prizing someone's ability to sit there longer than everyone else and put up with bullshit. So if you feel like taking that break is going to inherently mean that you are weak, I want you to reframe your mindset. It actually is the opposite. The way that you come back strongest and the way that you stay consistent, which is the only thing that matters in work and in life, is to rest, right? It doesn't matter how much we do today. It doesn't matter how much we do this week. It matters how much we do over long cumulative periods of time, months, years, for the rest of our life. If we think about it from a fitness perspective, the long game is to keep playing the game. The game is that we stay fit for the rest of our lives and we continue to engage in a way that is meaningful so that we can enjoy our years. And so it's not a race to the finish line. The game is to stay in the game. And with that in mind, no heroic sprint and active bravery and stacking lots of training sessions for short periods of time is going to yield any meaningful results that are actually going to build up and equal the larger picture, which is to build a sustainable and healthy approach to life so you feel your best for as long as humanly possible. Same thing in the workplace, right? Now, I recognize that in certain industries, there are sprints that are required, but I'm telling you, the end goal is to stay in it, right? The end goal is to be engaged and to build something that creates a legacy and it's sustainable. And you got to work. So you got to come back tomorrow and the next week and the next month and so on. So, just work to shift your mindset around what rest actually means. And it doesn't mean that it's weakness. It doesn't mean that you are less than somebody who looks like they're doing more, right? This is the other kind of outward expression of that. We get so much of this on social media that quantity is famed. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So often those people are burnout and broken. And again, sustainability is not the primary metric by which success for them is measured. So focus on yourself, focus on sustainability, focus on rest, understand when it's time to rest, why it's important for you to rest, and what you're shifting your mindset around rest can actually look and feel like for you in your life. Make it meaningful. Make sure that it is consistent. Make sure that rest is as much a part of your process as anything else. And then once that's done, once you've understood what rest looks and feels like for you, work like hell towards your goals. Again, I'm not advocating that laziness or a lack of extraordinary effort is not the answer, but blending that appropriately with rest is the only way to keep that as something that is consistent, sustainable, and actually an enjoyable part of your life. Otherwise, you're going to be burning the candle at both ends till you burn it down to nothing and you're not going to have anything left. So this was my quick take on rest. Again, I wanted this to be short and tactical. You can listen to it while you're in the gym, on your commute to work, while you're warming up for your workout. I hope this is helpful. I hope you take time to rest. Please learn from my mistakes. It is not something that you can go without, and doing more does not create more. So make sure that rest is a part of your process. And thanks as always. I'll see you next time on Endurance Minded.